This week, the HPT goes a mile high once again to the Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor in beautiful Black Hawk, Colorado. This one-time mining town is now home of the HPT's $1 million prize pool. Almost 750 players generated a prize pool worth over $1.1 million. And when the cards start flying, everyone had their sights set on becoming our newest HPT champion and taking home over $245,000. Past champions were here trying to repeat their success, and professionals were here for the big score. Now, almost 750 looks like 6. 1 professional and 5 amateurs, all playing for glory and unreal money. This is the HPT.
They come from all walks of life, each with a story to tell. All they need is a chip and a chair. It's an open casting call for those who love the game. This ain't your weekend home game. This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face. You with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game. Talk trash all you want. To me, it's all the same. You won't leave with much when you come in second place. I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome to the HPT. This week we are in beautiful Black Hawk, Colorado at Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor. I'm Chris Hansen, and the man to my left is a man who believes you can outdrink altitude sickness. He is Fred Bevel.
They say the key to avoiding altitude sickness is staying hydrated, so I get extra ice in my cocktails. It's been working.
I gotta hand it to you, Fred. You got an answer for everything. Almost 750 players started out here a few days ago, and now we are down to our TV final table. You can really feel the excitement and the tension as these players prepare for, Fred, the biggest poker game of their lives.
Chris, the stakes couldn't be higher. Over $245,000 will go to our next HPT champion. Every decision these players make can be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and every elimination gives these players a substantial pay raise.
Fred, we've got a lot of great players and interesting stories at our final table. Let's meet some of the players and then get right to the action.
My name is Jeff Wertepny. I'm from Longmont, Colorado, and I'm a laborer out here.
My name is Rich Perigo. I'm from Thornton, Colorado, about an hour from here. I'm a computer architect and electrical engineer with a bachelor's degree from Georgia Tech.
Mike Harris, Newcastle, Wyoming, and I'm a cattle rancher.
If I had win of $250,000, it would make life especially a lot easier for my family, for my church, and for me especially. I mean, I'm looking at retiring in a couple of years, and it would definitely come in handy.
It's pretty simple at this point. I'm the short stack, so it's pretty much shove all in with a decent hand. Pick spots, try to pick up some blinds, and try to double up with a decent hand. Maybe get an overly aggressive big stack to dump some chips off to me.
I usually try to play poker about 2 to 3 times a week. It's about 100 miles to our closest casino. Deadwood, South Dakota. You guys have been there. Get up there a couple times a week. Kind of as a rule.
And here is the prize money, again eclipsing a $1 million prize pool here in Colorado. First place tonight, $245,000.
And the first person knocked off tonight's final table goes home with just under 50 grand.
And here's how we start with chip stack tonight. Rich is our short stack. He's just got 10 big blinds in front of him. And Dan's got plenty of room to sit back and watch some action for a while with 70 big blinds in front of him.
Well, Carla is hot on his heels in second place, and the action will start with Carla. She's going to fold ace-7 offsuit.
Over to Jeff. Jeff's got ace-deuce. He will fold. Over to Rich.
All in.
And Rich puts them all in the middle with queen-jack.
Well, you said it a moment ago, he's only got 10 big blinds, as good as hand as any. Gets Mike to lay it down.
Over to Dan. 4-6 offsuit. Dan will fold, and now to David.
David Baker, a professional poker player, is going to also lay it down.
So our short stack is going to win a pot with blinds at 40 and 80,000 with a 10K ante.
Mike Harris looks like he's going to be the first to open this pot. He wins the best dress contest for tonight.
Fred, he's a rancher. That's what ranchers wear.
I love it. It's going to make it 200,000 to go. He's got horses on his sleeves, nice Western mosaic there.
You're a poker commentator. You wear hoodies and suits, not outfits like that.
And Carla wakes up with a monster here, pocket kings, and she's just going to flat call, sneaky, sneaky.
Jeff will fold, and so her heads up with Mike and Carla. Here comes the first flop of the night at Golden Gates Casino, and what a flop for Mike and his pair of sevens. He's now set up.
This could be bad news for Carla Sabini. Both players hiding their hands. They check.
So here comes the turn. The turn's a 5. Carla first to act. She bets 225,000.
Music to Mike Harris's ears.
Mike started this final table with 4.2 million in chips.
Two of the big stacks going out of here. Carla with an overpair to the board and Mike with a set. And Mike is going to pounce here. He's going to make it 600,000 to go. And Carla makes the quick call.
Now almost 3 million chips in this pot as we go to the river. And here comes the river. It is a 10. Carla first to act.
And Carla is going to come out swinging. She bets 400,000.
Fred, that's not coming out swinging. That's barely moving your foot in a step forward.
Well, she's baiting Mike into making a call. She doesn't realize he is lying in the weeds, hoping to pounce here. I see Mike making this $1 million easy. Almost. He min raises, makes it 800,000 to go.
Carla calls, and she is going to see that her pocket kings have lost to a set of sevens, and Mike is going to win a huge pot worth 3.34 million in chips. That's almost a double up.
Action moving on. These guys playing for over $245,000, over $1 million yet again in the prize pool here at Golden Gates Casino in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Mike is first here, and he folds. And now over to Dan. Dan Jensen is from Arvada, Colorado. He folds. David folds.
Carla folds behind, and over to Jeff in the 1 seat. He announces a raise. Makes it 160,000 to go. Jeff moved out to the Colorado area from Kansas because he lost his job, had better opportunities in Colorado. He's a laborer right now. Works on construction sites.
And look at this. Rich is not going to call. He is putting all of his chips in the middle, the short stack, active at this final table. And he is all in.
Action back to Jeff. And Jeff's going to lay it down, wait for a better spot.
And Rich, he's 2 for 2 as our short stack at this final table. Welcome back to the HPT with Fred Bevel. I'm Chris Hansen. Let's meet the rest of the players at our final table tonight.
Hey, my name's David Baker. I'm from Katy, Texas, and I'm a professional poker player.
Hi, Dan Jensen from Denver, Colorado, and I work in the construction industry.
Hi, my name is Carla. I'm from Montreal, Quebec, now residing in Castle Rock, Colorado. I'm an accountant, and I'm here to play and win this event.
I've played poker all my life. Started when I was a little kid. My dad taught me how to play. Currently play 3 or 4 times a week, usually here at the Golden Gates. Like playing the tournaments.
My career highlight actually was this year. I won a World Series of Poker bracelet, and Had a pretty amazing summer, final tabled 4 events and cashed 8 times. And a couple years ago, I made a deep run in the main event, finished 17th, and that was pretty exciting. That was fun.
I'm very, very, very patient. I fight all day long because I deal with audits a lot because of my job. So I'm very stubborn and pig-headed, so I'll fight. Like, you can knock me down, I'll get back up and continue. So I'm very patient, and I could read people really well.
Now that we've met all of the players, let's take a look at the chip stacks once again. Michael is our chip leader, just barely over Dan.
And most of those chips Michael picked up came from Carla. You see there, she's lost almost 1.5 million chips in that big hand. The short stack right now is Rich with just 6% of the chips in play.
Back to the action.
Over to David Baker. Jack 5 goes into the muck. Carla quickly folds as well. Jeff folds.
Rich is going to fold, and now to Mike.
We have a blind versus blind hand coming up.
8-9 for Mike.
I raise.
I like Mike's style. He's a gentleman, he's a cowboy, and he raises from the small blind.
And Mike is going to make it 360,000. And here's Dan with ace queen.
Big hand to wake up with in the big blind.
Now, do you just flat call here and then let Mike try to continuation on the flop?
I personally would re-raise with a hand like this out of the big blind, but Dan is just going to flat call.
All right, so blind versus blind. Mike will be first to act after the flop.
All right, Nick, let's go ahead and see that flop, sir.
And here is the flop. It's queen, deuce, 5.
Well, Dan flops top pair with top kicker, and Mike is going to check to him.
So much for hoping that the small blind is going to fire that continuation bet.
Well, Dan will have to do his own bidding here. He is going to fire. Makes it 300,000 to call, and Mike says, no, thank you, sir. He's going to throw him into the muck.
Blinds are 40 and 80,000 still with a 10K ante. Carla's going to be first to act, and she's got ace-6 offsuit. Announces a raise.
220.
Makes it 220,000 to go. Early position. She is aggressive. Jeff's going to fold over to the 2-seat, Rich.
Rich will fold now to Mike. Mike's got king, queen.
You know what to do with that hand, Mr. Harris?
Well, I know you know what to do with that hand. You're definitely playing it, under the gun razor or not. I'm on the button, darn it. I'm calling. And now to Dan with ace-9 offsuit. He will fold. And finally to David.
David looks down at 4-5, and he figures the pot's rich enough. Why not take a flyer on 4-5? He makes the call.
Mike and David playing this hand kind of like you and I would. I would definitely see the flop there with 4-5. Absolutely. And here's the flop. It's 6-9 ace with a couple of diamonds.
Carla has flopped 2 pair here. Mike just with king high. David has a flush draw.
Everybody's checking. So we'll see a turn. The turn is a jack.
Well, now Mike has picked up a gut shot straight draw. And Carla, no more checking. She's going to try to get value out of her aces up.
460,000 is the bet. I assume Mike is going to be folding. Yep, he does. Now the question is, will Dave make the call?
Well, David Baker, professional poker player, WSOP bracelet winner, has a flush draw. I got to think he's going to see a river here for 460,000.
And he does make the call. David, not with his bracelet on today. If I ever win one, you're going to have to pry it out of my dead cold hands. I will wear it everywhere.
Let's go ahead and see that river.
All right, here comes the river. And the river is a brick for Dave, and he's going to be checking. And Carla checks behind.
Carla, she's got 2 pair, aces, 6s.
Carla's 2 pair is going to take down this hand, getting back some of those chips that she lost earlier at this final table.
Carla is aggressive, and she's playing a lot of hands. And so far, it's working out for her. Action, this hand starts with Jeff.
Queen 7 for Jeff is folded, and now to Rich. 6-10. He will fold. Over to Mike.
Mike is a cattle rancher from Wyoming, and he's going to lay it down.
Ace Queen for Dan on the button.
And he announces a raise. He makes it $200,000 to go. Over to David Baker, and he is all in with Ace King.
Carla's going to fold, and so the decision is now coming back to Dan.
Personally, I hate calling all-ins with Ace Queen. It just never works out for me. But it's only $635,000 to call.
835, I believe.
David Baker is the short stack here. It sure would make a lot of these players comfortable to see him get off the table.
Absolutely, without a doubt, he has the most experience at this final table.
835.
So it's $635,000 for Dan to call and put David at risk.
Dave, originally from Texas.
Over $3 million in career winnings. And a call from Dan.
And Dan is going to hate to see this. He's going to find he is just crushed here pre-flop. Is going to be hoping to find one of the 3 queens left in the deck. Excuse me, one of the 2 queens left in the decks, because we saw Jeff in the 1 seat fold Queen 7 a minute ago.
Here is the flop. It's 9-3 deuce rainbow. So far, so good for David Baker and his double-up possibilities.
Wait for the queen to clap.
I folded an ace.
Okay, Nick, let's go ahead and see the turn card, please.
And here we go. The turn is a 6 of spades. So now Dan is down to just 2 queens to try to eliminate David.
Any club will work.
Now let's go ahead and see the river card. Nick.
The river is a 3 of spades. And so David Baker, the 40-year-old from Texas, is going to double up and stay alive in the HPT final table. Welcome back to the HPT with Fred Bevel. I'm Chris Hansen. Let's get back to our final table. Fred, I find it interesting that Carla Sabini has no idea what first place pays tonight at this final table, says she doesn't even want to know.
Well, it keeps her in the game and keeps her aggressive, keeps her from worried about making a mistake. And as you can see, it's working out for her. She is among the chip leaders right now.
I kind of have the same philosophy, except it's how much money I've lost this weekend. I don't want to know the number. Please don't tell me what the number is. All right, Dan's going to be first to act in this hand. Ace-5 offsuit to the muck.
Ace-5 again for David Baker. Except he's going to go ahead and play it. Looks like he's going to min-raise it. Makes it 160 to go. Carla gets out of the way.
Jeff folds, and now to Rich. Rich has 8-10 of spades in the small blind.
And Rich here looks like he wants to play his suited gap connectors.
He jumps in the pool and over to Mike, calling with pocket queens.
I don't recommend that kind of play. You got a min raiser and a caller behind you.
You really want to take queens three-handed?
You got to jack it up there. I agree with you, buddy.
All right, so 3 players will see this flop together with Mike, Richard, and David. And here we go. The flop is Jack 6-3. It's all clubs.
Well, we know David is holding the ace of clubs. This could get ugly. Mike with the overpair to the board is going to obviously bet here.
Mike also has that queen of clubs, which is probably right now giving him a little hope. But we know that David's got that ace of clubs. So Richard checks. Action is on Mike. About $500,000 seems maybe like a logical bet.
You're pretty close. He makes it 640,000 to go.
640,000.
And David Baker, I don't think he's got a calling stack behind him. I think it's all in or fold here for him.
David adds one overcard to the board, but that overcard is the ace of clubs.
I'm all in.
He is going to get them all in. I agree with that play. You got the nut flush draw and one over. Might as well gamble.
He's got 1.46 million left. Mike's asking for the exact number here.
Got it. 2, 4, 6,
820,000 more for Mike to make the call, and he does.
And David's going to see he's behind. That's probably not a surprise to him, but he has a lot of outs. He's got 2 aces left in the deck and all the clubs that are left in the deck.
5 of spades. There's the 640s. You got all that back there, right? All those in the middle. Ace or club.
And let's see if Mike Harris's gamble pays off. He got what he wanted. He's playing for a big pot. He's got the professional poker player all in here.
Come on, Mike. You got this. You got it.
Seems like everyone is cheering against David here at this final table.
Let's go ahead and see that turn card, please.
And the turn is a 7 of hearts.
Well, that opens up even more outs for David Baker. Now he needs a 4 for the straight, an ace for a bigger pair, or a club for the nut flush.
Ace. Or a 4.
All things considered, not that bad going to the river.
The river card.
It is a club.
David Baker gets lucky on the river, as everybody needs to do at one point throughout a tournament. And now this is his second double up at this final table. Chris, he's a dangerous player now.
Yeah, there is a reason why the rest of the final table is secretly pulling for Mike on that hand. They know all about David Baker at this point. They know what he's capable of doing. They want him off this final table.
Well, he is going nowhere, and now he's got a stack in front of him. Jeff lays it down over to Rich. He's got wired 9s. So computer architect, that's a pretty smart job, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think that you or I are cut out for that.
Says he's going to use his prize money for investing. Boring.
Well, he's got his tournament life invested in this hand, Fred. He is all in with his pocket 9s. Being one of the short stacks at this final table, just over $1 million in chips.
And Mike Harris in the tank is asking for a count from Rich's stack.
4, 5, 6, 7, and a quarter, 750, 775.
Well, plus
770. I'm sorry, 780.
Dealer cutting up the chips to get it all figured out. It's 775,000.
Wow, he doesn't even have over $1 million in chips. Action now on Mike. He just doubled David up.
I'm going to have to find out where he got that shirt. I'm going to get me one of them shirts.
Fred,
I'd look good in that shirt.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
I would look good in that shirt.
The only thing that would look worse on you than that shirt would be no shirt at all. And I say that as a friend.
I have to agree with you. No shirt is worst case scenario. Well, Mike Harris, he wants to make the call.
Ace Queen, you said it earlier, you hate making the call with Ace Queen. You don't mind shoving necessarily with Ace Queen.
Don't mind that at all. Calling with Ace Queen's a little bit different, though.
Sure looked like Mike was folding there for a second.
Doe Brunson hates Ace Queen, says he folds it every time. He's lost more money with that hand than any other hand in poker. If Tex Dolly won't play it, why should Mike Harris? That's all I'm saying. But he is going to play it. He makes the call, and he's going to try for the second time in as many hands to eliminate a player from this final table.
All right, action's over to Dan. He is going to fold, and so Rich's tournament life is on the line. And Mike, yes, is going to try to eliminate a player this time. Try to get everyone a little jump up in the money.
Your 9s are in the lead. Your 2 going up against Ace of Hearts.
Well, I'm sure Mike knew where he was at when he made the call, and he is confirming that when he sees the cards he's racing. Flip a coin.
All right. Let's go ahead and see that flop, please.
All right, so let's see the flop. It's King 6-3.
No help for Mike Harris there right now. Rich looking good. See the rail in the back, very interested in this hand and this whole table.
The turn card, please, Jess.
Here comes the turn. It's a 4 of hearts. So an ace or a queen, or Rich is doubling up.
9 still in the lead. Looking with double up. May I please see?
Okay, Jesse, let's do it.
And the river. It is a deuce. And so Rich is going to double up, and for 2 consecutive hands, Mike is giving out double ups at this final table. More poker when we come back. Welcome back to the HPT with Fred Bevel. I'm Chris Hansen. It's time for our Pro Tip of the Week with Phil Hellmuth. And tonight, Phil's going to talk about a time when things really tense up at a poker tournament, how to play around the bubble.
Playing the money bubble. Sweet! Talk about yum, yum, yum. It's like eating vanilla yogurt, non-fat vanilla yogurt. Yum, yum. A lot of players on the bubble are just trying to survive. They're folding ace-queen, they're folding ace-jack. They just want the cash. All they want is the cash. That opens up enormous opportunity to be super aggressive and make a lot of raises and re-raises and take advantage. I can tell you one time in my life where the blinds were exactly 1,000, 2,000, 300 ante. We had 28 players left, 27 got paid. And I said, you know what, let me just try it one time. And I raised without looking at my cards, and they all folded. And I did it again, and I did it again. I won 21 pots in a row. And yes, I made a straight one time in there, and I had pocket aces one time in there. But basically, think about it. I had 65,000 in chips. I stole, through skillful betting, over 100,000. That's 5,100 a pop, over 100,000. I took my stack from 60 to 160 just by taking advantage of the money bubble. I was watching Eric Seidel at the other table. He did the same thing. And so if players are just playing for the money, play to win.
All right, let's take a look at our chip count as it stands right now. Dan and Carla are right there for the chip lead, and Jeff and Rich are right there for the short stack.
The player making the most improvement since we last checked in is professional player David Baker. A little more than 1.5 million chips have been added to his stack.
And Michael, with doubling up 2 players this final table, is down over 2 million from our last chip count. Blind still at 40 and 80,000 with a 10K ante here at Golden Gates Casino in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Action on this hand will start with Jeff. Jeff, originally from the Midwest, moved to Colorado after losing his job. He's a laborer. Came out here for work. Now he finds himself at our final table playing for $245,000.
That would be a pretty good payday. Actions on Mike with King 9 of spades.
$245,000 would be good for he and his family, which makes me root for him.
All right, action is folded around to our blinds. This is David Baker in the small blind. He's had plenty of days of work as a poker player at the Felt, and with pocket queens makes it $190,000.
Just a little more than a min raise for Mr. Baker with the wired queens, and Carla is going to call with Jack Queen.
And Carla, playing this totally blind as to what first place money is, says she doesn't even want to think about it. She's just going to play the way she plays. And the flop is 7-4, Jack with 2 spades.
And this could get dangerous for Carla. She's flopped top pair, but David has the overpair. And Mr. Baker is going to bet here. He makes it $200,000 to go.
I'm going to make it 410.
And Carla is going to re-raise. Makes it $410,000 to go.
Well, if we were going to China, this would be the slow road, as they are just making these small bets back and forth at one another.
And David, being a professional player, a bracelet winner, millions in career earnings, probably has a pretty good idea where he's at in this hand. I'm guessing he has Carla on the jack. And he is going to re-raise it. That's the 4th bet on this street.
To a total of 900,000.
So on the flop here, Dave fires out 200,000. Carla then makes it 410. Dave has now made it 900,000. And now Carla is just going to call, so we'll see a turn.
All right, Justice, go ahead and see the turn card, please.
It's another 7. Well, if any part of Dave's story had Carla on the 7, he might be a little worried. They are playing out of the small and big blinds.
They are, but Dave did raise a pre-flop, and then the re-raising action that we had on the flop there. He's giving her credit for her hand. I think Dave knows exactly where he's at right now.
600,000 is the bet here on the turn.
It's a raise now.
And Carla, my goodness, makes it 1.3 million. And David quickly goes all in. At what point does Carla have to stop and think maybe he's got a bigger pair, maybe he has the 7?
Well, she is very deep in this hand. There's no doubt about it. So deep that she might not be able to get out of this pool. She might have to swim out of the deep end.
This is so bad.
It's almost $1 million more for Carla to see a river card. And there you go. She just verbalized it. She's putting him on a raggedy 7. She's wrong, but wrong in the right direction. She's beat.
How much more? 900?
960.
The call.
And she does make the call.
Ah, shit.
And Carla is in a world of hurt now, and Dave is in a great spot to double up again.
And that will make Dave one of the chip leaders. Carla is only hoping for a jack here on the river.
Jack.
It's a jack!
Wow. Unbelievable river card. David Baker is just in shock. He did everything right.
I want to win those.
And in the end, Chris, the cards just beat him.
Lightning has struck here at Golden Gates Casino.
Very disappointed and slightly steamed, to be honest. I normally take beats in stride, but that one was pretty tough. I think I played great today. I chipped. I lost a big pot early to get down to like 800 and found a couple really good spots to double. Going to Europe, leaving tomorrow. Going to Europe and going to play some more poker and see if we can be on the right side of variance.
Well, Fred, I know beats come like that when you're playing at a poker table, but I think he handled it pretty well.
Well, a professional player like David is going to see many more bad beats throughout his life, as anyone who plays a lot of poker. Boy, that still got to sting a lot.
Well, let's take a look at Carla's chip stack. She now has almost 8.5 million chips. It was interesting to see some of the other players come over and congratulate her, even though she now has a mountain of chips in front of her.
Well, she is the professional slayer at this final table. She got rid of the biggest threat and probably the most talented player at this final table. She needed some luck to do it, but the end result is good news for the rest of these players. Moving on. Boy, I still got to shake that jack on the river off myself. That's just brutal, boy. We've all been there. We've all had those kind of beats.
Ace-king for Mike as we move on. David walking away with over 47,000. Fifth place at this final table leaves with 58,000.
Mike again just limping with a big hand. We saw him limp with the queens earlier. Now he's doing it with ace-king. And here's Dan with wired nines. He's going to raise it up, makes it 350,000. And Carla Sabini, originally from Quebec.
What part of Colorado is that, Fred?
It's the south side.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, Quebec is in Canada.
As in French Canadian. That's why she's so aggressive.
Got it. All right.
It's the French in her.
All right, it's pocket deuces for Rich.
Call.
After Carla makes the call, Rich is in the big blind. We might see 4 players to this flop. The action is now back to Mike. Now what do you do with ace-king?
You don't just call again, Mike. You got to raise it here, buddy.
Got to try to trim some of the fat, but he won't. All right, so here we go. 4 players to the flop, and the flop is 4-3 jack with a couple of hearts.
Right now, Dan's wired nines are still the best. Mike is going to check. Action now on Dan. He was the original raiser pre-flop.
Dan's going to take his pocket nines for a spin and shoot out a bet. 450,000 is the bet.
And Carla is going to go ahead and fold her king queen. Good choice. Action over to Rich with his wired ducks.
All in.
Whoa! Wasn't expecting that one.
Rich is going to thinking that I think he's just got two big cards. He doesn't have a made hand yet. I do. I'm all in.
Well, Mike quickly folds. Action is now back on Dan. And the thing Dan's worried about right now is the jack on the board. He's hoping he didn't get out flopped. Dan just trying to get some kind of information off of Rich.
Dan's a 58-year-old from Arvada.
It's just under 900,000 for Dan to make the call. It's not an easy call. And he is going to lay it down, and look at Rich getting the best hand to fold here. He's going to scoop a nice size pot.
More poker from our final table here in Blackhawk when we come back. Welcome back to the beautiful Rocky Mountains. We are in Blackhawk, Colorado, just outside of Denver at Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor. And welcome back to another $1 million prize pool here at Golden Gate.
Just under 19 million chips in play. Carla Sabini has just over 8 million of those chips. 43% of the chips in play. The short stack right now is Jeff with just 17 big blinds. We haven't seen a lot of action from Jeff. He's going to need to start catching some cards or making some moves. Action continues now with the blinds a bit higher. It's now 50 and 100,000 with a 10,000 chip ante.
Mike is first to act on this hand. Again, fifth place tonight is paying $58,000 to the next person who leaves this final table. Speaking of leaving, whenever we're in Colorado and I happen to leave the casino, love playing golf here in the Rockies. Ball go far. Altitude is so awesome. For a couple of flatlanders like you and I, we get up here in the mountains, we feel like we're Tiger Woods.
Mike just limps in under the gun, and action's been folded around to Jeff. He's going to call the 50,000 from the small blind. The option now on our big blind, Rich.
And he will check his option. I mean, I'm serious. I had a couple yesterday that were 320 plus.
I hit one, and I still haven't found it.
Well, that's mainly because you hit it off of a cliff, but nonetheless. All right, let's get back to the action. Here comes our flop, King 10-7 Rainbow.
Interesting flop here. Jeff's got the open-ended straight draw. Rich with just 6 high, and Mike's got middle pair with the 10s.
Jeff is first to act, and his tournament life goes in the middle on his draw.
Good luck, Jeff. He's my guy. I'm rooting for Jeff here. Rich, not a whole lot to consider here. He's just got 6-4.
Getting an exact count here is Jess, our dealer.
A second ago, I said Jeff hasn't been too active at this final table. Now he's putting his tournament life on the line on a draw. I like the semi-bluff, though. I hope it works out for him.
It's just over 1 million chips for Rich or Mike to make the call. And they both are going to fold, and so our short stack is going to win his first pot of this final table. Back to the action with Dan first to act in this hand. He will fold. Over to Carla.
I'm going to raise.
Raise has been announced by the 6.
Carla once again raising the action, makes it 225 to go.
She's got so many chips, she's developing a second stack off to the right. You got to love that.
Jeff gets out of the way. Rich is going to fold.
Mike is going to call out of the big blind, and he's got ace-10 of diamonds.
Mike, real quick, can you see those cards again, please? 2 players, we've got the 3 and the 6.
So the aggressive chip leader, Carla, versus one of the short stacks at this final table in Mike, and here comes the flop. It's 6-3-9. It's all hearts. Mike's first to act.
Well, Carla holding the 4 of hearts. Right now, both players missed the flop, so Mike's got the best of it with ace high.
I'm going to do a bet.
Carla's got the chip lead, and Fred, she's going to let everyone know it. She's betting $275,000. Mike quickly folds, and Carla continuing to roll over this final table here at Golden Gates. Welcome back to the HPT. Let's take a look at our updated chip count. We know one thing for sure. Carla's got a lot of chips. Dan holding steady, but about half the amount of chips that she has, Fred.
And Jeff and Michael are the unenviable short stacks right now. Jeff with 7% of the chips in play. Michael with only 10% of the chips in play. Both players are going to have to make a move pretty quick here. Action on this end is going to start with Mrs. Sabini, and she is going to fold.
Blinds are 50 and 100K with that 10K Annie. We're over to Jeff. And now Rich. Pocket fives.
He's going to make it $300,000 to go with his wired pair.
Call.
And Mike is going to make the call with Jack 9 of clubs. And now to Dan in the big blind. And Mr. Jensen looks down at King 7 offsuit. He will fold. So we'll be heads up with Rich and Mike. And the flop is 3 deuce 10. It's a couple of clubs on that flop for Mike.
Well, Mike's sitting with just Jack high right now. Right now, Rich's fives are the best. But looks like Mike's going to put the pressure on Rich.
He's going to bet that flush draw. Over to Rich. Looks to me like Rich and Mike could be on one of those shows where they swap wives or something. You know, they two totally different looking people, two totally different lifestyles.
Computer architect and a cattle rancher.
I'm just saying, I could see it happening. Well, Rich raises to $500,000 and Mike makes the call.
Let's go ahead and see the turn card, please.
The turn is a 4, and now Rich is open-ended.
Well, Mike is already checked. He checked as soon as that 4 dropped.
And Rich is going to check as well.
And Rich is going to check behind, give him the free river.
All right, let's see what happens on the river. It is a queen of clubs, and that gives Mike the flush. But it's yet another overcard to Rich's pocket fives.
And Mike is going to fire. Makes it $350,000.
Goodbye, pocket fives.
Yeah, I got to think pocket fives shrink up pretty quick in this spot. Mike called his raise on the flop. Quickly checked the turn, and then bets again on the river. All of that just smells like I'm beat when you're holding pocket fives.
Rich reluctantly makes the call, and he is waiting to flip over his cards, and he will not show them. He will just fold. And Mike, the short stack, picks up a much-needed pot at this final table.
Action on this hand starts with Rich. He quickly folds over to our favorite cowboy. This is Mike Harris.
And he folds. And now to Dan. King Jack offsuit.
On the button.
Raises it up, $250,000 over to Carla. Big stack's going to fold, and now to Jeff. Jeff with 6-4 offsuit, calls out of the big blind.
Well, I wonder how much of that call was just sheer boredom on Jeff's part. He has been so card dead this final table. Hoping he can flop something with a raggedy hand.
Let's go ahead and see the flop.
And our flop is King 9-10.
Well, Jeff 6-4 didn't come home for him. Dan's flopped a pair of kings. Jeff is first to act here. And he's doing exactly what I was afraid he was going to do. He's going to make a stab at this pot. Fires $250,000. Take notes at home, kids. Never bluff out of position.
Take another note, kids. Go ahead and do it. If the situation calls for it, that's right. What my partner meant to say is this is not a great spot for Jeff to be bluffing as the short stack at the final table.
Well, now Dan has to wonder What does he have? Maybe he has the 10. Maybe he's got some kind of a draw. And that's what you do when you worry about a draw is you raise it up, makes it $600,000 to go. And this could be what lets Jeff off the hook and get out of this hand. And sure enough, Jeff is going to fold.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Just one elimination at our final table. Come back next time when we're five-handed to an HPT championship here at Golden Gates Casino and Poker Parlor. Now, do you think you've got what it takes to sit at our final table? Well, then log on to HPT Poker to find out about our upcoming events in your backyard. For James Larson and Fred Bevel, I'm Chris Hansen. We'll see you next time right here on the HPT.